4 years ago, I wanted my life to end. I was doing poor in school. I got C's, D's, and F's, and I was hopeless of a future. Thoughts like, would I grow up to amount to be a janitor, or what would my career ever even look like? I would doom scroll on the PH, and I just overall did not like my life one bit. I saw no purpose, I saw no value of it. It wasn't necessarily that I myself wanted to end it, but if something were to happen, I wouldn't mind. Like if I were to swerve off the road a little bit, or if something were to happen to me, then so be it. It would be better than the life I'm currently living. And I would try to escape that. I would try to have these vices that I would seek, that I would try to solve this issue in my heart, and it would just leave me empty again. I would seek to play video games, or to listen to music, to play music, or to doom scroll on the PH. That would just leave me hungry again. And I think it's similar to like eating junk food. It fills you temporarily, but if you just eat that for your meal, you're gonna be hungry again 20 minutes later. And that was the same with me. I would feel better temporarily once I escaped to my vice, but once I let go of that and stopped indulging in it, the same depressive state would come back. And so at this point, when I was in 7th grade, I was at my breaking point. I began to expose what I was going through my Snapchat story, and just opening up about it a little bit, because I was hungry for attention. That was another vice. I just wanted attention. I wanted people to see what I was going through. And that ultimately led to my family finding out what I was going through. And that ultimately brought me to counseling and therapy. And I hated it. I hated every bit of it. I didn't want what I was going through to be exposed into the open public, to where my teachers would know and they would check up on me. And I remember vividly when I was on my bed one night and I saw my Bible on my bedstand, and I probably hadn't read that thing for months or years. I'd gone to church here and there, but I did not live at all a life that Christianity would require me to. And I would begin to read the book of Revelation. And if you don't know what that book is about, it's about this apocalypse that appears in the end of the world. I was just captivated by that. I was like, end of the world? Heck yeah, let me read about this. And so I began to read, and I would read, and I would eventually finish the whole book of Revelation. And from then on, I felt a passion to pursue Jesus Christ. Now, I had known of him, I have known of God and Christianity for a majority of my life, as far as I can remember. But I had fallen away from that around 6th grade. I began to pursue my own flesh, and I began to pursue what this world desires. And I believe that the Lord Jesus, he captivated me. And in John 6:35, it says that he is the bread of life. And so I began to seek deeper into Jesus. I'd pray more, probably. I would read the Bible more. And I think, if I remember correctly, from there on, that is where my vice was. Sure, I still struggled with these other things, but he says in Romans chapter 8 that nothing could ever separate us from the love of God. So yes, I was still stumbling. So yes, I was still falling into lust and watching these things that I shouldn't have been. But I was beginning to fall back in love with Jesus. I remember in my 8th grade year, I went to Florida with a friend for spring break. And I just felt this passion to start posting videos on TikTok about Jesus. And so I'd do that, and they'd get decent views, probably a few thousand or so. And man, I just started pursuing. I started making more and more videos. And that led to my spiritual high for Jesus. I would go around my town, be praying for people. My life was feeling better. I was feeling all jolly and stuff. God delivered me from this. But more recently, there would come a point where that would begin to settle down a little bit. And I would begin to fall into the quote-unquote reality of life. And I would let go of the unfathomable, which is Jesus, which is God. And I would pursue and believe the fathomable, which is this world. And if that doesn't make sense, in 2 Corinthians 4:18 it says, faith is not in what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. And so I find myself today not even wanting to pray for miracles, because I have an expectation that it's just going to fall short, and I'm going to blame God because he didn't answer it, or he didn't do what I desired him to do. And so I would distance myself from the Lord. I knew what the Bible said. I knew that it said he was trustworthy and stuff. But I don't think I really believed it in my heart. And the busyness of this world would continue to just suffocate me. And it gets to the point where it's not that I want to die, but more so, I just don't enjoy my life. See, when you live a life of busyness, and when you live a life with no rest, and you're doing the same cycle every single day, you are living, I believe, in opposition of God's will for you. And therefore, in turn, that is why I desire to just change my life. And to just why I just want to tap out on life. Like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. Like, I just want to stop going to school, stop going to work. I just want to be done. And I think that all stems from a lack of rest. And I really want to emphasize in this video the importance of resting in Jesus. Because we all go through, physically, we all have sicknesses, right? We all have colds and we all have fevers and things like that. They're bound to happen. And so when we get those things, we take medicine and we rest. And I think when we view this from a spiritual perspective, the same aspects apply. We are bound to get spiritually sick. We're going to doubt. We're going to worry. We're going to get overwhelmed with the busyness of this life. Yet we take our medicine, which is the word, in time with God, and we rest. Rest, rest, rest. I think the Lord is really teaching me that right now in the season that I'm in. And therefore, hence why I'm emphasizing this so much, because of how much I need it. Because if we don't rest, and all we do is just take medicine, it's going to take a lot longer to feel better. So when you want to just tap out on life, here is my advice. Make every effort to rest in Jesus. Yesterday, I was taking my brother to his little ninja class thing. And there was this lady behind me. I could hear her on the phone talking about church and stuff. And I was just, man, I just want to talk to her. Because society is just antisocial and I just want to be social. And so, whole different topic. But I turned around and I was just, hey, you're a leader at a church, right? She's like, yeah. And I assume you're a Christian. So I just want your perspective on this. Like, how do you rest in the midst of the busyness of life? And she said to prioritize the word, because that is our food, and also to say no to things. So that is my advice that I'm just going to reflect back to those watching this. Embrace rest. It is not a sin to rest, but God rested, and if he did it, how much more do we need it? We see that Jesus, he escaped and got away to solitary places very, very often. And we need to replicate that in our own life. Because overworking ourselves is, I believe, can be an idol, just as anything else in this world can be. Yet we put a facade over it that it is, no, I'm just working for the Lord. No, I'm serving, it's good. But in our reality, I think that is one of the sneakiest tricks that the devil plays from up his sleeve when God says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So when you feel like tapping out on life, look to Jesus and be brutally honest with him about how you're feeling. Hold nothing back. Confess. And I would say rest. In whatever way that looks like for you. If that's going on a walk, if that's going to the coffee shop and reading the word. Read the word and do something you enjoy. For me, I like playing video games. Or I like going to get coffee. I like being with my friends. Take a breath. You will not die if you take a breath.